as part of our continued efforts to reach the African and other ethnic communities in the United Kingdom with greater impacts and create the platform to hear your silent and unheard views in this hugely growing community in the United Kingdom, our channel, Ben TV, presents to you another live current affairs television program. Our focus on the program is to review and discuss issues around the diaspora community in the UK. The program offers you that unrestricted voice on issues affecting you in the UK. Join us live every Monday at 10. All right, welcome back and thank you for joining us on the program. Joining me now to take a look at the issue of forceful deportation and immigration, especially with the incident that happened at the Stansted Airport on last Tuesday, where a chartered flight to Nigeria and Ghana, comprising people being forcefully removed. It's going to be discussed on the show. And joining me, Antonia Bright. Antonia, thank you for coming on the show.
Hi.
And Ali Tamley. Ali, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
Ali, let me start with you. Do you want to tell us what really happened on Tuesday at Stansted Airport?
Sure. So on Tuesday, there was a charter flight going to Nigeria and Ghana, which was going to deport up to 70 people. And these are regular charter flights, which happen in the night. They're secret. They're done so people can't see in the public, and they're rounding people up and trying to get rid of people. And a group of us, 15 people, got onto the airport. We locked ourselves to the plane and stopped it from taking off, because we thought that people on this flight were fearing for their lives. They said that we had contact with them, and they said if they were deported, they might be killed for their sexuality, because of their political situation, or just because their families were all here. Like, we thought they deserve to stay here, and we want to try and help them as much as we can.
And so a group of you breached the security at the airport?
Yeah.
Gone to the tarmac?
Yeah, we got on.
Tied yourself to the flight, to the plane?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we cancelled the flight. So we could, within a few minutes, the police came, but they had to take it very slowly. They have to be very careful, and because of that, we were there for about 8 hours. A few people were locked around a wheel, and other people were on a tripod and locked together. So we made it as difficult as possible for us to be removed, to give as much time for the people to get their cases seen again and get taken, hopefully be given leave to remain.
Antonia, I mean, looking at the action by the group, one would imagine that is illegal.
Actually, what this action represents is an enormous victory for human rights and for humanity. And that's what the people are doing. They are stopping a much greater crime, which is what the government is doing with these charter flights, rounding people up, including people who fear for their lives, including people whose whole life is right here in the UK, and forcibly removing people, which involves a lot of violence and brutality from the state, because people are often basically hog-tied, maybe their arms, legs, waist tied up, and when you're put on a charter flight, you have like up to 3, thugs to physically lift you and carry you, or to stop you from being able to move or do anything. So these are really brutal flights, and they happen regularly. So I really celebrate the action that people took to stop that this time, and really shone a light on, for a lot of people who didn't know about what the UK is going about with deportation policy, to shine a light on it for the first time.
Eventually, the flight was cancelled.
Yeah.
But the government has a right to police its border to determine who comes in or who goes out. That does not mean that's the end of the case, does it? Is it?
It's the beginning of shining a massive light on what the government is carrying out in the way it's dealing with people, its brutality, and it is letting thousands upon thousands of people know who themselves are affected by these issues, who have a unstable status, because let's face it, the immigration rules keep changing all the time, and lots of people are finding themselves, manipulated out of having any status in the place that they've called home for years. that it's letting all those people know that there is a different side to Britain. It isn't just Theresa May's, you know, racist side. There's another side where ordinary people will stand up for you.
Would you say that was a racist side? This is a government trying to do its job, isn't that?
They're trying to do a job that's premised on scapegoating immigrants for policies that they have brought forward that have impoverished much of our communities, especially hardest hit the Black and Asian and immigrant communities. Like the poor areas are really struggling. And the government's policy is, well, we aren't going to solve that. We're not going to change austerity and poverty. We're going to divide you, blame immigrants for the problems, rather than the policies causing those problems. So this is why, this is about stopping a much greater crime, a much more important situation. It's about people taking action for what they believe in, that is defending human beings and our rights to dignity and respect.
Ali?
And just on the charter flights, it is a racist policy because these flights are scheduled every 2 months, and then the government puts pressure on its...
The flight's scheduled every 2 months?
Every 2 months there's a flight to Nigeria and Ghana, and the government spends a lot of money doing this, and then it puts pressure on itself to fill those spaces. So it tells the UKBA, go find us some Nigerians. So they're going around in their vans, rounding people up. So how can you feel safe if you know that this is going on? This is racism.
But what will inspire, say for instance, someone like you, Ali, you don't really look Ghanaian or Nigerian to me.
No.
What will inspire you to want to stand up for such a cause of forcefully removing Black African and Caribbean in the community?
Yeah,
people being forcefully removed. If they are different, say for instance, the Nigerian High Commission in the United Kingdom has given approval through whatever method, either traveling certificate, to say, yes, we are approved that those people should go. What will be the major concern of a group like you, a person or someone like you?
I mean, I'm not African, I'm not Nigerian or Ghanaian, I'm a person of colour, and I know what racism feels like. And I have the privilege of a British passport, so if I get arrested, if I commit a crime, I'm not going to be deported, so I have the responsibility to stand up with people who don't have that privilege, and I'm willing to do that. I think the group that I'm from, Plain Stupid, we're normally thought of as an environmental group, but we can't see the environmental crisis that we have separate from any racist crisis we have. Like, we think that everything is connected. We think that even climate change, it is rich white people in countries like Britain and America that cause the problem, but it's places in Africa and the global south that suffer the consequences. So we need to stand in solidarity across all these issues, and that's why we took action.
Ali, but would you not agree with me that the government does have a responsibility to police its border, to determine genuinely who comes in and remain in the country?
Above all, the government has responsibility to human rights. People's human rights are being ignored by the brutality that they're facing in detention, in the borders, in mass deportations like they tried to do on Tuesday. And those rights far outweigh anything else.
Breaching security protocols and getting yourself into the airport, the tarmac, and tying yourself to the plane, isn't that taking things a little bit far?
I think it's proportionate. I think it's necessary. I think we've tried, other people have been trying to stop deportations on many other ways, and the government just doesn't listen. Charter flights is a policy that people have been challenging since they've come into practice, and the government just keeps making things worse. So this action was necessary, not only to stop the flight, but to shine a light, as Tony was saying, onto this practice and get it out into the public.
How much of light has been shown on this now? How much of awareness has been created?
I mean, we're here now on TV talking about it. I think we're continuing to shine a light on it.
Is the government willing? Do you think the government is willing to stop this, or reduce, or control this?
One way or another, we'll force them to do that through this, actions like these, through building a momentum, building a campaign, getting more people involved. and resisting in these kind of situations.
Tonya, group of people, some of the activists were arrested on Tuesday. Probably they're going to be charged. What does it take?
Well, this is now about putting the charter flights on trial. And that means that we will be doing everything to defend the people who were arrested, doing the action, and that any court hearing that comes, that there will be tons of people coming to it. And the real verdict will be the one about the charter flights, because that's the reason that people took the action. So it is charter flights and the deportation policy that is on trial.
But if that actually would mean that is on trial, the government wouldn't deport anybody without actually giving the person the opportunity to explore and finish all available legal
Actually,
opportunities.
the point is that that's not the case. And it is a responsibility for citizens. It's not really just about the government. They aren't supposed to be a dictatorship. It is a democracy. We have a right to protest and we have a right to carry out actions that defend the things when the government's not doing so. I mean, I can give you some examples of the people that were on this flight on the question of what inspires people to take action. There's someone who is saying, for example, I've been in this country for almost 18 years. My family and my life is here in the UK. If they take me back to Ghana, I will kill myself. There's someone else.
18 years.
18 years
Well,
here.
Why? Okay, go on.
There's other examples. Both my parents in the UK, they are British, but the Home Office, want to deport me back to a place where I don't have anybody, nobody hear our cry. We're crying, please, we need to be rescued. Please, can anybody help us? My doctor has confirmed that I wasn't fit to fly. I was not fit to be detained here, and the Home Office wouldn't do anything about it. They didn't reply. They still want to force me back home. So we already know that people are being held. There's actually enormous numbers of people who have sued the Home Office for unlawful detention, who shouldn't have been detained in the first place. We know people whose doctors will say that they're not fit to fly, but they're being put on these planes. So I disagree that that the government is doing what it's supposed to do. They aren't. They are utilising the scapegoating of immigrants as cover for other issues in the society. They want to show they're being tough on immigration, but that's got nothing to do with protecting the country. It's got nothing to do with the security of the country. It's got nothing to do with fairness or abstract rights, or, well, we have these borders and we have to protect them. Protect them from who? People who have grown up here. This is their society. You know, who are we protecting? There's nothing to do with protection in this.
Ali, why would we blame the government for doing its job when the embassies of these individuals probably have refused to protect their interest, granting the government the right to deport their citizens? Say, for instance, somebody who's been here for 18 years. Shouldn't the Ghanaian embassy, High Commission in UK, take that case of that? This person has spent 18 years in this country, far away from Ghana. Why would this person be taken to somewhere he left 18 years ago? How would the person go? Shouldn't Ghana take responsibility for that?
I think we could try. Both governments are responsible in this case. That we don't have to choose one or the other, but it's ultimately the UK government who has this policy of mass charter flights, which has people like this person. Maybe their case would get heard longer if there wasn't pressure for them to just fill those seats on that flight. So it's the UK government are the ones doing the deporting. We're the ones we're focusing our targeting. But yeah, if Ghana wants to stop receiving these deportees because we know that this policy is so outrageous, then yeah, go ahead. That's great.
And evidence has come to the High Commission. So we've been to the Nigerian High Commission. We've demonstrated. There's
You've been
dossiers.
to the Nigerian Commission?
Yeah, before now. And I mean, this campaign didn't begin with people locking themselves to planes. It's been campaigned on every front. And this has been, those other fronts haven't resulted in stopping the injustice. It's actually just as bad, maybe even worse, I think, even since Brexit. No, the those governments need to take responsibility
They are
and
commissions.
refuse. They should be refusing to accept these flights. Most countries don't accept charter flights. There's only certain countries that accept charter flights, and it opens up a targeting of the communities that are eligible to be put on those flights. So it means a special targeting of the Nigerian and Ghanaian communities here for harassment, for questioning of their immigration status. Because if you fall in that category, you're a statistic. You know, there's a flight ready. So it does mean especially targeting of those communities. And we want to appeal for anyone in, you know, the Nigerian, Ghanaian, any of the communities affected by charter flights to get in touch. Because on Thursday, they pursued that charter flight. Basically, the flight that was stopped on Tuesday, they took people on Thursday instead. So it delayed it for 2 days. It stopped that flight at that time. But the government is
Eventually
prepared
they were
to,
taken out
yeah,
on
they're
Thursday.
prepared to kind of try again. They will spend enormous sums of money to pursue this policy. So days later, they took people on a charter flight to Nigeria. And I think that there's going to be people who have friends who are on that flight. There's going to be people whose maybe family members were there. There may be people who are watching, you know, or seeing or hearing. There was lots of people absolutely celebrating the fact that the flight was stopped. But we know these things are always a delay whilst the policy still exists. And we want those people to get in touch because we know that there's going to be people who have cases they were in the middle of and they've been denied that. We need to find those people. We need to get in touch. So they should get in touch with the End Deportations. On Twitter, it's eDeportations, or at follow MFJ. If they get in touch, then we'll. There are people pursuing legal cases for those deported, you know, potentially to be returned, and that will be another aspect. And I think another thing that shines a light on the injustice of these things, because we win lots of times, but the system's set up to make you fail. And when we can overcome that, which is only by a movement, because as an individual, getting through this system is next to impossible. You really are set up to fail. But when you're with collective action, collective knowledge, collective effort in pursuing the cases, legally speaking, alongside the building a movement, there is a real chance that we can win, and then we will, over time, keep pushing back on these flights. There is a movement. It has started. It exists. You can join it. You should join it, because we can win. We can win in the long term.
I mean, while you were talking, you said some countries wouldn't accept chartered flights with deportees to their countries, while some will accept. And two of those countries include Nigeria and Ghana. Why would they do that?
I really question why would the Nigerian government bend over backwards so much for Britain and not stand up for its diaspora? Why? That is a good question. I think it's a question for those governments. And I think that, yeah, it's a question for our communities to raise that to those high commissions.
Ali, why?
I think we need to look at what makes politicians work. Why do they tick? They follow the money. Like, there are these charter flights. They're linked to trade deals. They're linked to aid. They're linked to all kinds of corruption going on. And the British government and other governments facilitate these things by backhanded deals, by saying, oh, if you don't accept these charter flights, we won't help you with this trade deal or this aid coming to your country. Like, there's lots of like corrupt things going on here, and that's why it happens.
But I suppose to you, Ali, that the government has a responsibility to police its border.
Again,
would you agree?
No, from who? From what? Like, people who've
Security?
From a person who's been
One of the reasons people voted to leave Europe, the EU, one of the reasons for Brexit is immigration.
And we're seeing the racist attacks as a result. We're already seeing on the streets people being attacked and beaten almost to death. Even just on Friday, there was someone approached in Croydon and asked questions as to where he was from, and as a result of his answers was beaten and is now in intensive care in hospital. These are these is what we're seeing as a result of these politicians' policies that have kept telling people that it's immigrants that are the problem, it's immigrants that are to blame for your poverty or your feeling of lack of security. And it's not. It's not. You know, it's really makes me so angry. Racism is a divide and rule tool. It's a classic. It is old as time. It is what the ruling class have used so often, and it allows for Britain, you know, the colonialism of Britain. Let's face it, Britain is expert at this divide and rule, and it has acted on that basis across the world and enriched Britain as a result. But it means Britain has a connection to the rest of the world, and we are here to stand up for the people who, at the end of the day, are the leaders to fight for a much better society than the one we're in. And that's going to come from the people who are not, who are standing up against that racist division.
Ali, this chartered flight, at least there will be about 40, 50, 80 people on there?
Yeah, 50 to 70, maybe more, yeah.
And they fly out every fortnightly, every quarter, every 3 months?
Every 2 months to Nigeria and Ghana, yeah.
So we'll basically say every 2 months, Nigerians, 50, 60 Nigerians are moved out of the UK every 2 months, forcefully removed.
Absolutely, in brutal conditions with 2 thugs, private security guards, holding them down, forcing them onto that flight. Like, people have been...
But the government has also offered what it calls living out of your own free will and with financial support. They will give you money, give you support, free. If you've been here undocumented and you want to leave, you approach the government, they support you to leave, assist you to settle down. Why don't people take that offer?
People don't come here undocumented because they want to. The people come here because they have to, because their situation in their home country isn't safe. They fear for their lives. There are people on this flight whose whole family had been killed by Boko Haram. Like, people don't leave their home because they want to. They leave because they have to. And then there are these other people who've been here where this is their home. They've been here 18 years. I wouldn't go to any other country just because the government offered me a free flight. I live here, my family's here, and that's the same for everybody else who this is their community, this is their home.
Tonya, your last take on the show. As in, people getting in touch with the movement?
Yeah, people can get in touch with, the Twitters are like @followMFJ, that's my organisation, Movement for Justice. E-deportations, as shortened from end deportations. So if they follow that, if you looked under the hashtag of Stop Charter Flights, you'll find lots of retweets of what happened on Tuesday, the footage, you know, the numerous articles, and also the different groups to get in touch with. Definitely get in touch. I think this is a movement that's growing, and what happened on Tuesday is a big step forward in something that is an ongoing struggle. And yeah, we're determined we're going to win. And, you know, we know just on the last one, it's got nothing to do with protecting anything. The government is changing the rules on immigration all the time for completely opportunistic reasons. It used to be that you'd have a right to stay if you're here 5 years, 10 years, 14 years. Now it's 20 years. I mean, they push it back and back. But as a human being, what's the difference? 10 years, 20 years, you're part of this society. Like, this is your community. This is where you have everything. You know, you don't have to, you know, I don't know, how they make it sound like all immigrants were worse than the worst criminals. And that's how you're treated just because of where you were born. You're guilty of where you were born. That's ridiculous. That is a poison in the society, and that's why it's not acceptable to say, well, the government has this right. They don't have this right.
All right, thanks a lot. I will be getting in touch with the Home Office to actually, again, have their response on some of the issues we have raised in this program. We'll be getting in touch with the Home Secretary, Baroud, and or people from the Home Office regarding these issues of forceful deportation we have raised on the program today. It's been a pleasure. Ali Tamlit, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Tonya Bright, thanks for always being there. Pleasure. All right, my name is Tunde Alabi. I will be joined now by Priscilla in Whipple. Priscilla will be coming on the show, and then she'll be talking about modern slavery with guests who are here to talk about the danger and what you need to do if you find yourself in modern slavery, or if you've been mistreated by anybody in any form. It's going to be a topic you should watch and listen to. And thereafter, I'll be back to end the show. Don't go away, Priscilla Whipple. It's going to be on the set now. As part of our continued efforts to reach the African and other ethnic communities in the United Kingdom with greater impacts and create the platform to hear your silent and unheard views in this hugely growing community in the United Kingdom, our channel, Ben TV presents